Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We'll let everybody get settled and we'll start here just in a few moments. Nice to see you all on this Tuesday afternoon to talk about repurposing your best content. Glad to have you all here. I'm Jay Kundert. I'm the Food Systems Director at the Iowa Valley RC&D, and I'm glad to be putting on this webinar with Emily Stokel, who will be our leader for this training, and our partners up at Northeast Iowa, Josh Dansdale here. And before we jump in to the webinar, just wanted to go over that if you have any questions you want to bring up during the training, you can feel free to type them in the chat, and I'll keep an eye on that, and I can bring up any questions that you have to Emily as we're going through. And then we'll also have time at the end if you want to take a chance to unmute and ask questions you have, or if you have larger kind of discussions you want to have with the group, we can have time for that at the end. We like to keep these short and sweet, be about 30 minutes over our lunchtime here, and talk about some social media happenings. And just a reminder, this is part of a series, our Small Bite series. This spring we do one each month. We had one in March, one in April. Those are both on our YouTube channel. And then talking about repurposing your best content today. And then we have the next one in June will be on creating shareable content. And then we'll continue on this the rest of the year with one each month, and we'll be coming out with those topics here shortly. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Emily Stokel to talk about repurposing your best content.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I am just going to share my presentation with you. Okay. All right, so today we're talking about repurposing your old content and why you should repurpose content that performed really well in the past. So first, let's start with why you should repost previous content, because this might surprise people to hear that you can reuse things that you have shared in the past. So the first big reason is that not everyone who's following you on social media actually sees every one of your posts. In fact, only about 10 to 15% of your total followers see your posts on a good day. If you take a look at your insights, you'll see that, only a handful of your followers see each post. So that's just a reminder that it's totally okay to repeat things, to remind people of things. People need that repetition, sometimes just to like register that you have shared that post. Repurposing old content also saves you a lot of time. If you are resharing an old photo, for example, with a new caption, that saves you the time on having to take the new photo. So it can be a great way to save time. And also you can repurpose old content in new ways. So for example, some people learn really well from a very visual image. So the image is what's going to grab their attention. Some people might catch on to the information more if you use an infographic with words on it. So sometimes different kinds of posts are going to attract different people to understand whatever it is that you're trying to share about. So how do you find out what kind of posts have performed the best for you in the past? So small plug, we actually have a whole Small Bites video on how to access your insights, which is on our YouTube page. And I wanted to share this because this is another way of reminding people of your old content. This is an example of that. So we've created this webinar on how to access insights, and then just now I'm resharing with you that this exists and this, this content is out there, it's still valuable, and people have the opportunity to access it. So that is a great tutorial to look at to check on insights, but it's also an example of how you can reshare things that you've created in the past with folks. But in short, how to look at your insights, you basically just look at your engagement metrics on Facebook or Instagram, and you use the following metrics to best judge performance. I tend to look at comments, follows, shares, and then kind of bottom of the list, likes and saves. Saves is an option that's available on Instagram. The reason that I look at comments, follows, and shares are these actions kind of show me like the people who are most engaged with my audience. So obviously it takes more time to leave a comment rather than just leave a simple like. A share demonstrates that that person is excited to show it with people like in their own community. So they're excited to share that post out with other people. And a follow is a great metric because it tells you that something about that post was attention grabbing enough that it made that person want to actually follow your whole profile and see all of your posts. So those are the top three that I really look at. And then I kind of use what performs best in those categories to figure out what I might want to repurpose. So for example, if I'm looking at a post and I see that it performed really well in those categories, maybe I had an infographic. So I had like a nicely designed graphic in Canva that had some information on it, some text information. Can you repurpose that same information maybe as like a 30-second video? So you could post it as a video on your feed or post it on your Instagram stories. Some people are going to catch on to that information more hearing it rather than stopping to read it in your feed, for example. Or you might look back through your old posts and you might see that a certain picture you used in the past of a garden harvest performed really well. So you could actually reuse that photo and you could include like an important call to action about how to buy products from you. So this is a great way to reuse photos that have performed well. So kind of looking back several months or even a year back to find photos that have performed really well. But we're going to change up the caption this time, and we're going to use a really strong call to action type format, because we know that the photo is eye-catching. So we're hoping that people are going to stop and read the post, and the caption is going to tell them something important about your business. So a strong formula for writing good social media captions has a couple of different elements. The first is a good hook. So for my example here, my hook is, do you remember the first time you tried a garden fresh tomato? So that might make someone stop. You've got your great picture of your garden harvest. That hook is kind of like eye-catching. It evokes something for people, so they might stop to read. Then the next thing in your caption writing formula is to like relate to your audience. So in this example, the way that I'm relating to the audience is saying, we all know. So it's like you and me both, we both know that garden fresh tomatoes beat store-bought any day. Then you're going to provide them a solution for their problem. So I might say, here at the Stokely Farm, we grow 12 varieties of organic tomatoes, including heirlooms each summer. And then I'm going to give them a call to action that tells them how they can buy from me. So I'm going to say, find us every Saturday at the Cedar Rapids Downtown Farmers Market, my booth number, this is where I'm at, come purchase from me. So you're basically taking this picture that like visually attracted people before, and you're really, really working hard on that specific caption to make sure that if that picture catches people's eye, that there's something really strong there that allows them to purchase from you or to connect with your brand more. This caption writing format can be used for any sort of post, I should say, too. This doesn't just have to be when you're repurposing or when you're repurposing content. It's just a good formula to use when writing strong social media captions. But this is what I really recommend using, testing out on some of your best photos. So what are some other strong call to actions if you are repurposing some of your best photos and you're changing up the calls to action and trying to make them stronger? These are some examples of calls to action. You can ask people to click a certain link. You can ask them to DM you direct message you with questions. You can tell them to buy this product now and where to find it. You could tell them to sign up for an email list. You could tell them to find your products at a certain store, at a certain farmer's market. Or you could ask them a question and say, let me know what you think in the comments below. So those are kind of examples of, ways that you can, once you're repurposing those captions, ways that you can play with that call to action at the end. It doesn't always have to be buy this product here. You could also use this if you're trying to encourage people to sign up for an email list or visit you at a certain event. Okay, so here are a couple of takeaways if this is something that you would like to try to do today. So the first one would be to find your best performing photo, of a photo that has you in it. So you're going to find a good photo that you've shared in the past that has you in it, and you're going to use this as an opportunity to reintroduce your business, reintroduce yourself, and tell people what you do. And remember that new folks are joining you all the time, and people don't always see every single post that you make. So it's totally okay and even encouraged to reintroduce yourself every once in a while so that new people who have joined understand who you are and what you're about. Another repurposing idea that you can try today is find those top 3 most liked photos that you've shared and try reposting those same photos, but this time with new captions that have really strong calls to action. You can also look at reposting really high performing photos and just share them as throwbacks to positive memories. Right now, people are really nostalgic for good times, so you can always share a photo from a farmer's market past and share that throwback, and that is going to make people feel really positive about that memory. So that's another way to repurpose a photo that you've used before, but put a new spin on that content. So now we're going to open it up to questions. Jake also has a poll he'd like to share with you. I might also be open to hearing from folks if they have ideas about how they might like to, or how they might put old content to use and update those captions or try it out in new ways.
Great. Thanks, Emily. While folks are thinking about questions they might have, you can drop them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask the group. I'm curious, Emily, how you think about the different ways that you can share things on social media and repurposing things across platforms or using the different tools on the platforms. Can you give examples of anything that you would, you might post as a post and then you post it as a story separately, or something you'd post to Instagram and then maybe post it to Facebook at a different time? Does that kind of thing come up ever?
Yeah, that's a great question. So something just in general to know is on both Facebook and Instagram, video posts typically perform better. Those platforms are just really trying to push out video content. They know that people like to watch short video content. So I'm talking like 30 to 60-second videos. They know that people like to watch that stuff. And so that's why they keep adding things like stories or reels or different opportunities to share video content. So a great way to get started with repurposing content is look back on old posts to see something that performed well. And then maybe it makes sense to, so like maybe, for example, you shared a recipe and it performed really well last year. You could actually reshare that same recipe again this year, but this time share it as like a 30 to 60-second video. And then you don't have to reinvent the wheel by having a new recipe or creating something totally different. You are just, instead of sharing it as like text this time, you're going to maybe share it as a video this time. So that's just an example, but a really quick and easy way to repurpose content that performed better or that performed well in the past is to repurpose it as a short video if possible, because right now video is performing really well.
Great.
Another example of this could be like, say you look back at your old photos, and this is something that I see with a lot of my students. I don't know, like the garden beds when the first produce of whatever season comes up from the ground, like that photo always performs really well. So first asparagus of the year, first tomato of the year. So if you go back and you see that those photos perform really well, maybe this time you might want to share that moment as a short video, just for example. So that's like taking something that you know performs well and sharing it in multiple formats so that more people have the opportunity to see it.
Okay, anyone else have questions? Okay, well, as you think of things after we wrap up here, you can feel free to email any of us on the team, and we'd be happy to talk with you more about these topics. I'm going to throw up a quick poll, just 2 questions asking if you learned something new today that you'll use for your market or business, and if you'd recommend this webinar to a fellow market manager or vendor. And while you all are filling that out, just want to say thank you all for joining us today. We're putting on these webinars through some funding from the USDA Farmers Market Promotion Program grant, so we appreciate them for their support on this work. And yeah, again, I thank you all for joining us, and I hope you'll reach out to us with any questions you might have. We're happy to help with anything related to your
Jake, I've
social
just
media.
seen a question come in the chat, actually.
Oh, great.
So Anne has a question about taking photos and turning it into video. Great question. So what I really mean when I say this is that, so if for example, I'm looking at my photos and I'm seeing over and over the things that perform really well are pictures of my flowers, for example. What I might do if I've posted lots of just still photos of my flowers in the past, I might take that knowledge that that performs well, and I might take a video clip. And you can just take a video clip on your phone camera if that's what you use for your photography, and upload that to Instagram or Facebook, just the way that you would upload a still photo. So I'm not necessarily editing the still photos together into a video. I'm just taking the knowledge that that still photo performed really well, and I'm trying out that same content just in a different format, this time in a video format. Hope that helps. And you can post video content to both your feed or to your stories.
Okay.
Happy to answer any other questions that folks have.
Well, there's no other questions. Thank you again for joining us today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope the rain stays away for long enough that we can knock back some weeds, and I'll see you all again sometime soon.
Take care, everyone.